And so this morning, we're going to show ourselves friendly, and we're going to get into the meat of this town hall meeting, and you're going to be able to ask questions. If not, we're going to take them back, and we're going to answer those questions for you. Join with me in welcoming Dr. Michael Burgess.
Okay, that was pretty rousing, so thank you and have a good day. We'll see you next time. We're going to set up, the purpose of this meeting is not for you to listen to me, but for me to listen to you. So we're going to set up a microphone and we'll let people line up just while that is underway. I do want to, obviously I want to thank Mr. Miller. Thank you for your kind introduction. Bobby Mitchell, what can I say? And to tell you how good Bobby is, what a good heart she has, I actually moved out of her commissioner precinct, and she didn't abandon me after she pointed out that I abandoned her. So I lost a commissioner. It sounds like carelessness, I know, but she still follows me around, and that's great. Bobby, thank you. I can't thank you enough for being here today. Certainly I want to thank the Marcus High School Color Guard for being here and helping us kick this thing off. And Gary Shepperman, the principal of the high school, thank you for opening up your facility. I will confess to you, I didn't know that this facility was here. I mean, I drive by on Morris Road. It's kind of tucked up here in the back, but it is it's a beautiful facility. And congratulations to Flower Mound. Congratulations to Flower Mound Marcus High School for having such a nice facility. The object was to have a place that was large enough where we could all gather, because I knew there'd be a lot of interest. And again, I can talk about almost any subject that's of interest to you today. If I don't have an answer for your question, if you're willing to leave contact information with us, we will get it back to you. So let us just start it off, and we have the first person in line. And Eric, are we squared up there? Good, please proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Burgess. My name is Debbie Donser, zip code 76226. I'm also a proud Democratic precinct judge for 4017. Give me the liberty to give you a quick history prior to my question. My husband passed away at the age of 30 from a congenital channelopathy when our daughter was 1. I went on to UNT, graduating cum laude, as a single mom and working as a paramedic. I now have a career as a consultant, performing quality assurance within emergency medicine education. Our daughter is now 18 and about to head off to college to pursue her own ambitious goals. As you are aware, as a contractor, and not due to wanting a handout, the ACA has given us the extraordinary opportunity to begin the procedure for implantation of an ICD for her prior to going to school, since she has been diagnosed with long QT as well. So when I read your ominous comments from CPAC a few weeks ago when you stated, so if the numbers of insured people drop, I would say that's a good thing, because we restored personal liberty in this country. If your new utopia materializes, what should I do with my newfound personal liberty so my daughter can continue to have medical monitoring in order to avoid burying her beside her father?
you for being here, and obviously we're all sorry for your loss. From the standpoint on the Affordable Care Act, I do believe the individual mandate, one of the more coercive aspects of the Affordable Care Act, is the reason it has never achieved widespread popularity. When people ask me what I would do, and I've been pretty straightforward about this for a number of years. When people have asked me what I would do, and I've been pretty straightforward about this for a number of years, I've said I would eliminate the individual mandate. I don't think it has a place in a free society. But that doesn't mean that you stop there. There are other things that can happen, and there are other things that I think should be done. You generally don't use the words interesting or exciting and held policy together in a sentence, but I will. The day before Inauguration Day, there were, I think, 19 or 20 governors in town who met with roundtables both on the Senate side and the House side. I've never seen so much enthusiasm as I saw from the groups of governors in this, both Republican and Democrat, who want to fix the problems in healthcare. We can talk about whether we repeal the ACA or save the ACA. I would like for healthcare to work for more people in this country, and I would like to not bankrupt us in the process. But again, since we're on the subject, let's just talk for a minute about what's on the road straight ahead. And I had told myself I wasn't going to be long in my answers because I do see there are a lot of people who want to ask questions. I will do this one time and then refer back to it. There will be, under Senate rules that are called reconciliation rules, there will be a bill that is on the floor, or I'm sorry, in the committees in the House. It hasn't been noticed yet, but it's probably going to happen next week. The reconciliation bill, no surprise to anyone, because the House and the Senate both passed a reconciliation bill in December of 2015. It went to President Obama's desk. He vetoed it. There were not the votes in the Senate to override the veto, so the veto was sustained. And that was the end of reconciliation for 2015-2016. But now we're in 2017, and the reconciliation bill will likely be before the committees, very similar to the reconciliation bill that was there in December of 2015. So it's no surprise to anyone, and yes, it is a bill that I voted for in the past. It is important to note what's in the reconciliation bill. So relief of the penalties for the mandates, the individual mandate and the employer mandate. There will be some restructuring of the taxes that were passed as part of the Affordable Care Act. There will be additional money put into community health centers. The Public Health and Prevention Fund will likely be diminished, and there will be some relief under current law, under the Affordable Care Act, under current law, states receiving what are called disproportionate share funds, DISH funds, to hospitals that help hospitals make up the difference for patients who are uninsured. Those funds are scheduled to be cut at the end of this fiscal year, so those funds will be replaced under the reconciliation bill. That was in the language last year. I expect it to be in the language this year. So what's not in there? What's not in there are a lot of the insurance reforms that were included in the Affordable Care Act actually can't be included in reconciliation. We can deal with taxes, we can deal with spending, but you really can't get into the policy in the reconciliation. So people tell me, well, kids on their parents' insurance to age 26, that's good policy, I want you to keep that. It was not part of the Reconciliation Bill 2015. Doubt very seriously it would be part of the Reconciliation Bill this year. Hello. Kids on their parents' insurance to age 26. Removal of that was not in the Reconciliation Bill last year. It is unlikely it will be in the Reconciliation Bill this year. So kids who are on their parents' insurance till age 26, which was a Republican bill back in 2007, I would remind people, that doesn't change. That doesn't change under the reconciliation. Neither does the prohibition of pre-existing conditions, which gets to some of the concern that this individual is talking about. It was not in the last reconciliation bill. It will not be in the next reconciliation bill, most likely. I I don't understand why you're doing that. You want people with pre-existing conditions to get thrown off the insurance. It will not be, the removal of that provision will not be in the record. It wasn't in the last reconciliation bill. It likely won't be in this reconciliation bill. Same with the ban on lifetime limits. Same with the preventive health care coverage. Same with the gender rating. Did not change last year under reconciliation, not likely to change this year under reconciliation. What will change, the mandates, the taxes, additional money for community health centers, and help for hospitals who are undergoing disproportionate share cuts. So that's the sum total of right now what's in the reconciliation bill. On the energy and commerce side, there are going to be some tax provisions. Those are the moving parts. And that's what we'll likely see in committee, I think, next week, though it hasn't been officially noticed yet. Louder?
No. What question?
Can we pump it up? So that's likely what will be in the reconciliation bill next week. Although it has not been noticed yet, my expectation is we will see it. Yes, ma'am. Please proceed.
My name is Dr. Robin Dobson. Closer to the mic.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Dr. Robin Dobson. I went to medical school at the University of Missouri, came to Texas for the rest of my training. I have one comment to make about the individual mandate before I get to my question, which is, Dr. Burgess, you and I both know that people don't expect to have a catastrophic illness. And the point of the individual mandate is that people need insurance in case they have that catastrophic illness that they're not expecting. So if they don't, have that coverage, either the hospital or the taxpayers end up picking up the tab for that very expensive emergency coverage. So my question has to do with block grants. As you may know, Texas recently switched to a block grant system for the disabled children in Texas called the Star Kids program. And that has been a disaster, according to reporting that was on the front page of last week's Dallas Morning News. Children have been denied coverage for life-saving medications. One 9-year-old autistic boy quit and had to wait 18 hours without food or drink because a surgery that had been pre-approved was suddenly not approved when he and his mother arrived at the hospital after a 4-hour drive. So, Congressman Burgess, I would like to hear your commitment that you will not vote for block grants for Medicaid and for Medicare, and also no per capita caps, because this has not been working out for Texas for the Star Kids. They've had over 730 complaints in the first 3 months of that initiation. Yes, it saves money for the federal government, but these companies that are administering the programs ultimately are trying to cut costs so that they can keep this block of money for themselves. So the providers, the doctors aren't getting paid, and the patients are not getting the coverage they need.
So the decision to go with a block grant in that program that you mentioned, entirely a state decision. If it is not working, they have the ability to adjust that, and I suspect, reading the same article that you did last weekend, I suspect that even now that those adjustments are being made. So that is, to me, more important that things be administered more locally, because it's hard to get through the people at the Department of Health and Human Services. You have your ability to get through to your state folks is probably more realistic. But setting that aside, to answer your question, I have reached out to the state reps and state senators in this area. I've talked to them about block grant, per beneficiary allotment, some of the other managed care suggestions that are out there. The reality is, I want to be for what they're for, and that is how I've presented it to my state reps and state senators with whom I co-locate. Block granting has been part of the Republican Party platform for as long as I can remember. Before I was politically active, my ask to my state reps was, we've had this in there for a long time. this is the year you could get it. So be very certain of what you're asking for. And we even provided some data to them about what the numbers would look like. So I'm working with my counterparts at the state level. As you know, Texas is on a 2-year schedule as far as its state legislature, so things are not going to happen rapidly, but at the same time, I want them to have the ability to, whatever changes are made, happen over a sufficient period of time that people are able to adjust to them. But the answer to your question, will I oppose block grants? No, I will not. Do bear this in mind as far as the Medicaid expenditures go. I'm not saying that it's not a worthwhile expenditure, but it is $580 billion right now. It will be $1 trillion just on the federal side in less than 10 years' time. Our entire discretionary budget right now is $1 trillion. Yes, ma'am. Please proceed. Now, the military has been cut, and that's obviously another part of the discussion we can have.
My name is Sally with AID.
Please, let her talk.
I'm a resident of Highland Village for the last 30 years. 75477 is my zip code. I'm also a human resource professional. With regards to the individual mandate, you know, in Texas, we're all required to have car insurance. And if you don't, you get when I negotiate with health insurance companies, we're told that the more people that are in it drives the cost down. Same is true for healthcare, which is why we need the individual mandate to make sure that we drive those healthcare costs down. My concern with your aggressive actions to try to repeal and replace this is your own campaign financing. You know, you raised $1.4 million from 2015 to 2016, and half of that was funded by healthcare providers, healthcare insurers. How can we be assured that you're going to do working for our best interests and not for those that are funding your campaign?
Statements, and I would like to respond to both of those. I'll do so briefly again, trying to be respectful of all of the people who are lined up. The first on the individual mandate. It'd be great if it was working, wouldn't it? But it ain't.
It's working!
20 million people who should have signed up for the Affordable Care Act under the aegis of the individual mandate haven't done it. I think it's 19.7 million people. Why haven't they signed up? They said, I'll take the penalty, I don't want your insurance, or they've gone to the Department of Health and Human Services and said, I need a hardship waiver. The issue of states doing, we all have car insurance, I hope. If a state wants to have a mandate, that's an entirely different situation than the federal government placing a mandate. And as a consequence of the federal government placing the individual mandate on us through the Affordable Care Act, which I thought was unconstitutional, and I thought the Supreme Court would rule against, as a consequence of that happening, now the federal government, of course, regulates it under the Commerce Clause. So it doesn't make any sense that they can impose something and then say, oh, it's constitutional because we're regulating it under the Commerce Clause.
Supreme Court says it's okay. Supreme Court!
On the issue of the campaign finance, it is true. Well, first off, it is true that I am not a very prolific fundraiser. Most of the other folks who serve with me don't think I pull my fair share. But But the people who support me do so, I take the Ronald Reagan approach. They don't support me expecting me to support them. They support me because they believe in what I believe. He knows we don't always agree. I have folks in my office all the time who say, we really need you to be for this. And I'm saying, I'm sorry, I can't be with you.
They want to have your health care.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. My name is Derek Williams. Good morning, sir. My name is Derek Phillips. I'm a marketing rep from Denton. I have a few questions to ask you in regards to Donald Trump when it comes to honesty. The New York Times reporter, Paul Krugman, wrote an article the other day entitled Goodbye Spin, Hello Raw Dishonesty. In this report, he highlights many false assertions made by Donald Trump in recent weeks and months, including his assertion, I haven't called Russia in 10 years, despite having hosted the Miss Universe competition in Moscow just 3 years ago. He also noted Mr. Trump's contradiction to what he said this last year, I know Russia very well. He is called the president of the most dishonest man
Please let the gentleman address his question.
My question to you, sir, specifically, is there any instance since Donald Trump began running for president and eventually became president, do you have the courage today, sir, to call the president of the United States a liar in regards to any public statement that he's made?
No. To attach that appellation. You may recall a member of Congress received a great deal of criticism when he did that in the previous administration. So, as a general rule, if I notice a propensity for prevarication, I will note it, and if there's something I need to do about it, I shall. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Congressman Burgess. My name is Katie Evans from Sanger, Texas. Sorry. My question is twofold. Your policies on education reform and school choice have been known as early as 2011. As you well know, in Texas, according to several reports and studies, until 2012, we had the worst recorded record on uninsured children, adults, and the disabled population. 23% of the population without insurance, making us the lowest in the nation. Age 65 and older, the third lowest. The rising Medicaid and CHIP enrollees are directly correlated with the legislature provided by the previous administration, allowing for grants for states that properly insure and participate in entitlement funding. This allows states like Texas benefit for assisting our most vulnerable, our children. What will you do to assist in federal funding and federal guidelines to ensure that our children continue to be given the opportunity for medical care?
Are you familiar with the program called the Children's Health Insurance Program, SCHIP or CHIP?
Yes, Children's Insurance.
Do you know who was responsible for getting the funding for that when it ran out in August of 2015 for an additional 2 years?
I read your legislature, yes. Your co-sponsored bills.
No, it was my bill.
Okay.
It was my bill.
I'm sorry, Congressman Burgess, your bill, which I have a copy of.
It was HR 2. HR 2 was the funding for the state children's health insurance program starting at the end of fiscal year 2015. If you'll recall, when the Affordable Care Act was passed, they said we won't need funding for children's health insurance program any longer. This was when the president signed the bill in 2010. They authorized the program for 2019. They funded it to the end of 2015. Whose bill was it that provided an additional 2 years of funding for the state children's health insurance program? It was HR 2. That was my bill.
You're incorrect. In fact, I have a...
I went to the signing ceremony.
regarding CHIP, are you confusing the legislature that you signed or sponsored regarding first or schools and, I'm sorry, I'm nervous because I'm frustrated now, regarding children and Head Start programs and the extra additional 2-year funding that was proposed against Texas that you called unconstitutional by Speaker Pelosi at the time. Because that was prior to 2015.
If you're talking about the funding for the school clinics that was included in the Affordable Care Act, I thought it was misguided to put money into building school clinics and not to provide money for staffing school clinics. One was with a mandatory appropriation, the other was discretionary. I thought that was backwards.
But the
But as far
2015
as
legislature did not assist Texas.
Yeah.
Texas bills and Medicaid expansion did not. The only thing that assisted Texas was the federal funding that was proposed, and we would have been not receiving them. We would have been penalized if we did not follow. That is the allocated expenditures that have not been discussed, that you have called forces upon our liberty in 2015, that did not allow for the allocations in the bills since then. So we would have been punished.
I think there's some confusion about bills that were taken up in the state legislature versus the Congress. I do stand by the statement of H.R. 2, which had funding for the state children's health insurance program. It was a bill that had my name on it. I was the lead sponsor. It was signed by President Obama. A lot of my folks on the right, they're not happy with me for doing that. In the entire country, 15 states plus the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and the territories.
But will you be taking that away when you take away?
It expires at the end of September. Something will have to happen to continue it.
But
I don't know what that will look like.
For Medicaid, for CHIP, for Black.
I wasn't against it. It was my bill.
You have time and time again stated that you are against all entitlement funding, going to law grants, going to charter schools, going to everything. So what will you do going forward if the ACA is repealed to make sure that those grants that are entitlement funds stay, to mandate the state of Texas, the state, which we have the worst record on, going forward if the ACA is repealed? If we can excuse your
Medicaid expansion that was mandated in the Affordable Care Act by a court order was set aside for states that chose not to do so. It's a state decision, not my decision. I supported
Will you work with
I
policymakers?
supported
Will you
Governor
work
Perry
with
when
John
he made
Cornyn?
that decision because I thought.
Will you work with our senators to make sure that we keep our states running in timely funding?
State legislature.
The issue facing the state right now is the loss of funding when SCHIP expires in September, and also the disproportionate share funds to Texas hospitals on which they depend. Those funds are also scheduled under the Affordable Care Act to be significantly diminished on October 1st. My hope is to replace those funds. So again, I think we're talking past each other a little bit on some of this stuff. Some has been state originated and state directed. SCHIP, I guarantee you, that was H.R. 2, that was my bill. You can look it up online.
My name is Marcella Conard. I'm from Denton, Texas, and I'd like to build on the questions about the Affordable Care Act and healthcare, and I'd like to point out that the first question you did not answer. You just said it was not currently in the works. So, I'm sure you understand the importance of women's healthcare and preventive care. I am a mother. I just had a 5-month-old, and I'm thinking about trying to make sure I space my pregnancies out and for my own healthcare as is best for my health. And I'm thinking about an IUD, thinking about contraceptive options. These things are covered under the Affordable Care Act. Will you commit, not just saying that it's not currently in the box, but will you commit to protecting women's health care, specifically contraceptive coverage,
in whatever your basic
Again, that will not be part of the reconciliation bill.
Will you commit going forward?
Look, I don't know what form it's going to take. Obviously, what's important to you is important to me as well, but we'll see what works all that. What is immediately ahead of us is the reconciliation. It will not be part of that. And even if there were changes that occurred, because of the way insurance is bought and sold, the way the actuaries price policies, you can't do anything in under 2 years' time. So I think the answer to your question is, I'll look at it. But it will not be part of the reconciliation bill.
Texas has the highest maternal mortality in the developed world. Yes.
Hi, Dr. Burgess. I'm Marianne Lowry from Frisco, Texas. First of all, I want to thank you for offering us this opportunity to have of boomers. There is a lot, I'm going to go away from the healthcare a little bit. There is great concern in my community, and I am a registered Republican, I will say that. There's great concern in my community about the connections with the Russian government and our government.
Particularly in Ukraine, in eastern Ukraine, Many of you don't know, I am a member of the Helsinki Commission, and I was an election monitor in the Ukraine in May of 2014 and October of 2014. The first nationalization that was being carried out by the Russians at the time, I thought was abhorrent, and I wondered why there was not more resistance from our State Department on those efforts. So in October rather of this year, when all the stories, and Vice President Biden, as you may recall, was on Meet the Press one Sunday morning and talked about the influence of the Russians on the election, I asked for a briefing and was denied. After the election, both parties, it was a bipartisan briefing that was carried out in the the classified part of the Capitol where we go for these types of activities. I thought I would, if there's information to share, I thought I would get it that day. It all turned into a hair-pulling contest between the former head of the Democratic National Committee and the director of the FBI. So there was no useful information transmitted at that time. Since then, I've had a briefing by the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. I have another briefing scheduled for Monday of next week. Yes, I do take this seriously as well, and I try to stay on top of it. But I was concerned about it in the previous administration as well. This is not...
As new information is coming out, we're hearing now that there was some dishonesty.
I'm going to try to shorten my answers a little bit so we get more people. Please go ahead.
Thank you for being here. My name is Faria. I'm from Frisco. I'm a proud Muslim American. Needless to say, my community has been under attack by this administration from day one. I hope you have noticed how marginalized this administration has marginalized every minority group in this country. Our diversity is our strength, it is not our weakness. This makes America great. The Women's March, the protests across the airports, the other protests are representative of what the American values are. We are out here for those values. We're not being paid. The person who is behind all this fear-mongering and hate is Steve Bannon. My question is, are you going to stand up to this white nationalist from being on the National Security
As you know, the president is entitled to have the advisors. The president is entitled to have the advisors that he wishes. It is not a decision that is made by the United States Congress. I could not decide the advisors in the previous administration. The president has sole discretion in deciding who his advisors are. It's not my job to pick those people. It's not my job to pick those people. I didn't like some of the advisors in the previous administration, but you deal with what you got.
Is it in your morals, is it in your values to support white nationalists, but it's
No.
your job?
No.
Go stand aside.
Okay, we back on? I'm not moving away from you. They said if I'm standing too close, then it interferes with the sound level, so I have to stand back here. I apologize for moving away.
Congressman Burgess, my name is Dee Fox, and I'm from Montana, Texas. And my name is Dee Fox. I'm from Montana, Texas. And, we started out this meeting with very patriotic, as we should, and we had a red rousing prayer. And my concern is this, is that our Congress, the last poll I looked at, 92% of Congress at least identify as being Christians. But when I think about the Affordable Care Act, and let me be clear on this, I pay my taxes on time,
I've always had health care. As far as I know, my parents have all gone on to glory, so but as an adult, I've always had health care. But as a Christian, the Word of God is very clear that we do not leave the 99 to go get the one. And if any of the Affordable Care Act saved one life, we should be very thankful. And for Congress, I'm pretty good, especially now since I'm over 65. I get all kinds of things. Do you need a hearing aid? I know I'm over 65, but I don't need a hearing aid. And when I hear repeal and replace, and I've also been blessed that when I buy a house, I call my insurance company and I say, okay, I'm no longer going to have this house, I'm going to have this one. There is no delay in my insurance. It's immediate. So I'm having a little problem with the words like, and I call it political jiu-jitsu, words like access. Everybody has access to health care, but can you afford it? So I want to make sure that and I'm sure that as a Christian, that we want to make sure that we don't leave people on the side of the road. And whatever this, because now I don't know Rand Paul, who is a Republican, he can't find the bill, so we don't. So for some reason we're not being, even Rand Paul, a Republican, and ran for president, can't do the bill. But anyway, would you please help me? And the rest of us. But as a Christian, if you leave someone on the side of the road, then that's not working as a Christian. Saying you're a Christian and walking that walk are two different things. And from the Congress that should be mostly 92% Christian, it shouldn't really be like this. So that's my concern. And the other thing is, the greatest legal document is our Constitution, which we always cite. When that Constitution was written, people of my descent were not considered a whole person. The Constitution was written, women couldn't vote. We didn't repeal it and replace it, we made it better. When something like healthcare has caused so much pain, so much conflict, and it's really sad. And I would hope that my congressman would lead the way in making sure that no one is left on the side of the road, and that whatever we have now is better, and that it happens simultaneously. You can't say is that if you are determined, which it sounds like you're determined to repeal it, are you going to lead the way to make sure that, just like when you buy a house or a new car, when you get a new car and a new house, that, because I always drive with insurance, by the way, and I have been hit by a motorist who didn't have it, that it goes together, and that no one is left on the side of the road. Not one person. Thank you.
So you may have read the news stories, how there was a gentleman in the Rayburn House office building who was found by another member of Congress, unconscious, hit his head, bleeding all over the place. I was one of two people who helped revive that individual, and best I know, he is still with us. So, first answer your question is, I will not leave someone on the side of the road. The other part of your observation don't need to answer short for a lot of people to get through. You said you were on Medicare, is that correct?
But I also...
And I just want to point something out to you. On Medicare, you sign up for Part B either 3 months before or 3 months after your 65th birthday. So there is a requirement that you sign up, or you will pay an additional premium. So you did the right thing. You signed up in the allotted time period. I think it is okay to have those brackets around the sign-up date. Yes, you sign up, or if you want to sign up later, that's your choice, but you may pay a little bit more.
I'm okay. I'm not concerned about it.
I know you're okay. I can feel it. Yes.
Hi, my name is Kelly Barr. I'm from Denton, Texas. My zip code is 76201. I've had the good fortune of going to your office a couple of times now and meeting with your very patient staff. So I would like to thank you. I would like to thank you for holding this town hall earlier than you told us. And also thank you for having it be over an hour. That's great. So I wanted to say that I've been paying attention to some of your votes this past week, particularly that you voted against 2 efforts to solicit documents about President Trump's conflicts of interest. So one of those resolutions would have mandated the release of President Trump's tax returns, which would really and the other resolution would have directed the Attorney General to provide a number of different types of documents to members of Congress concerning different types of potential conflicts of interest that President Trump or his affiliates might have with Russian officials. So my question is, why do you think it's in our best interest, and the best interest of citizens of this country, to not know that information through
Every person who files to run for federal office is required to provide the financial disclosures, everyone from the president down to your humble representative.
And he did that.
And
we
he
know
did-
he did
and
that.
he did
But we
that.
also
That
know
is-
that there's information that doesn't tell us.
And
that
that
the
is
tax
what is
returns
required by law. If Congress wants to change the law going forward, then we should do that. He has fully complied with the law. I will tell you, I was audited one time. It's no fun. President is under an audit right now. His advice of his tax attorneys is to not release that information. But I want you to stop and think about it for a minute. The United States Congress, if they coerce the president into releasing that, they can do the same thing to any one of you. Standards that everyone else who serves in the House and the Senate.
Present a national security issue. We have conflicts of interest.
Precisely why the financial disclosure forms are filled out, are required and filled out. This is something that was begun in the reforms after the Watergate issue was back when I was very, very young, and it has continued to this day. If the Congress wants different disclosure, then they
So then you are not worried that President Trump's conflicts of interest
Sir, my tax dollars pay for you and every member of Congress to have the best health insurance on this planet.
Can I begin to address some of
No,
the
sir,
things?
you may not. I am not finished yet. Fracking has caused a massive increase in seismic activity in Oklahoma to the point that we've watched every bird in the state flee, and our EPA is not allowed to speak because of it.
Please proceed.
Our EPA is not allowed to speak out against what happened in Oklahoma just a few days ago when every bird in the state fled due to seismic activity because of fracking. And our EPA is gagged by the administration. Our government protections are being eroded by the administration. Our tax dollars are paying to stab us in the back while you ransack our wallets for everything we have. Sir, what are you going to do to protect us, not your wallet?
Well, you made a number of assertions that I do feel like I need to address. First off, on the issue of the congressional carve-out from the Affordable Care Act, I thought that was wrong. So members of Congress now have available to them a special deal if they go into the D.C. shop, the D.C. exchange, where they get a subsidy that is paid by the federal government. The argument was this is employer-sponsored health insurance. I said my folks at home would never understand if I did something like that. So I did it. I signed up at healthcare.gov just like everyone else in the individual market. I spent hours on the phone trying to get through to someone who knew what they were talking about. I worried that I wouldn't get insurance on January 1st, 2014. When I did get it, it was the most expensive insurance I had ever had, and it had a deductible for once a which I had never seen. But nevertheless, that's what the Congress told you that you had under the Affordable Care Act. That's what I had. I didn't have a subsidy. I did an unsubsidized bronze plan in the healthcare exchange. Like anybody else, I bought on price. What's the cheapest I can get away with? That's what I bought. People said, is your doctor on your plan? I said, I don't know. It's $6,000 deductible. I'm not going. As far as Social Security is the primary vehicle for my retirement. I have a paid-up 65 life policy through Northwestern Mutual that I bought when I was a physician and invested in heavily, and that plus Social Security is what I'm looking to for my retirement. And then there were a number of other allegations. You know, I'll just tell you, I go to work every day with the best interest in the 26th district. I mean, that's what's foremost in my mind. I've lived here for 66 years. Especially